The number one mistake everyone makes when figuring out their calories is over-relying on calculators and not taking their body's actual reactions into account. My co-coach Lucy used to eat 1,000 calories and ran every day. She saw no results for months and felt miserable and broken, like being at war with her body. Fed up, not literally, she read every research paper under the sun about metabolism and energy balance and realized she was eating the wrong calories for her body. She raised the calories, reduced exercise, and suddenly saw results again. Now she eats to satisfaction and feels connected to her body instead of at war with it. And hundreds of my successful weight loss students have experienced the same transformation. I want to spare you from this painful journey by sharing the exact 4-step process we use to help our students figure out their calorie targets and what mistakes to avoid along the way. And oh boy, are there many. You see, when Lucy first started calorie counting, she expected things to be simple. After all, isn't it just math? So she picked the first calculator she found in Google search, entered her stats, and picked moderate for activity level since she was going for 30-minute jogs 4 times a week. The result told her to eat this much. Not only did she not lose weight, she ended up gaining weight. After browsing weight loss forums, she realized her activity level was actually sedentary, so she recalculated her target to be 1,100 calories per day, 500 calories less than her maintenance, which is a deficit amount every site told her should lead to a 1 pound per week weight loss. While she made progress the first few weeks, the initial high of fast weight loss was gradually replaced by constant hunger and low energy, frustration over weighing, measuring, and agonizing over every calorie, dreading social activities involving food. And despite persisting on 1,100 calories per day, progress slowed and eventually stopped completely. Panicking, she jumped from calculator to calculator to find something different. Nothing budged the scale. The internet told her she should make her calorie deficit deeper, so she slashed more calories, avoided social activities altogether, and cranked up her exercise to 11, running multiple hours almost every day. And still nothing budged. It was when she was at her breaking point that she was forced to confront herself. What was all this for? Why did she even want to lose weight in the first place? In her desperate attempts to lose weight quickly, she had lost sight of the fact that she wanted to do this in order to feel more connected to her body, to show up for friends and family with more energy, to love life more. And yet, she was living the polar opposite of what she claimed she was doing all this for. Then the lights went on. Wait, the whole reason why she started was to feel more connected to her body. Yet, she has been relying on everything else to tell her what to do except her own body. No longer willing to ignore her body's needs, she saw clearly now that weight loss was not just simple math, but also a conversation with her own body. And therein lies the antidote. Knowing what she knows now, here's what she would have done differently. First, she would still try to calculate her best guess total calories burned per day, or TDE, using a calculator like the one linked in the description below. But she'd do it from an experimental perspective, like a scientist developing a hypothesis. Now, most of these fields are self-explanatory, but the activity factor is what everyone gets wrong, so pay attention. You've probably seen this before and think it's determined by how much exercise you're doing. But unless you train full-time like an athlete, your activity factor has very little to do with your exercise routine. In fact, formal exercise only makes up a measly 25% of this, while NEAT makes up 75%, which includes your daily movements like walking, twitching, shaking, etc. It's a byproduct of living your life, and most of these movements are unconscious. This is the biggest mistake I see made at this step. And it leads to countless people exhausting themselves with intense exercise, thinking they can eat more, only to see no progress or even gain weight. Instead, I recommend this rubric to determine your activity factor based on how often you're on your feet rather than exercising. Had Lucy done this from the get-go, she would have saved herself many weeks of extra weight gain at the start of her journey. Now, once you get your TDE, you may be tempted to slash a bunch of calories to lose weight fast, but beware. Most calorie counting apps recommend a whopping deficit of 500 per day because that's how much scientists estimate it takes to lose 1 pound per week. But this doesn't make sense for everyone in practice because, number one, we're not machines and not all of that weight will be coming from fat anyway. Number two, even if we are machines, it's unrealistic to expect everyone to lose 1 pound a week. 1 pound for a 220 pound versus a 120 pound person is drastically different. If you have more fat to lose, your body can release some of that fat and still be okay. But if you have less to lose, losing that same amount can cause your body to freak out and conserve more fat. This is why Lucy's progress completely stalled after the first few weeks despite eating so few calories a day. So instead of making your calories based on the number of pounds lost, make it based on the percentage of your TDE. What we have found to be most successful is a mild calorie deficit of 10 to 20%. Going lower than that can cause your body to freak out. Had Lucy chosen a conservative deficit and not banked on 1 pound per week of weight loss, she would have seen more progress over a longer term. Once you have your hypothesis, experiment by tracking how your body responds to this eating at this target, including both physical progress and emotional well-being. This is the most important step, so don't skip it. You'll need a way to measure your body fat percentage on a weekly basis. Note that we're tracking body fat percentage, not weight, because weight includes muscle too. If you only focus on weight, you may end up losing a bunch of muscle and end up looking like this instead of this. Then throughout the week, track the calories of everything you eat and drink while trying to aim for the calorie target. But remember to treat this as an experiment. A big mistake at this point is trying to be 100% accurate. Spoiler alert, you can't. Your body burns different calories every day, and you're also going to eat different calories every day because we're humans, not machines. The goal is not to get 100% accurate. It's to figure out what's the average calorie difference needed to make progress. At the end of the week, do a progress check on your physical progress and emotional well-being. For physical progress, calculate your body fat percentage again, and the average calories you actually ate over the past week, regardless of what target you were shooting for. If your body fat is trending upwards, subtract 5,200 calories per day from what you actually ate and test your new target for another week. If it went down, great. Then check your emotional well-being. How hungry did you feel? And what were your energy levels like this past week? Use those answers to gauge whether or not you feel this is sustainable. Stick to this target if you're feeling good. Otherwise, if you have room, up it by 50 calories at a time to see how you do next week. It's a big mistake not to take your energy and satiety levels into account, because even if you're losing fat, it's not going to be sustainable if you're miserable eating too few calories. It may shock you to learn that one of the biggest predictors of how likely you will fall off the wagon is how fast you lose weight at the beginning. In fact, most of our successful students lost weight more slowly, fell off the wagon less often, and more easily maintained their weight afterward because their body and brain had more time to strengthen that neural pathway that turned new ways of eating into automatic habits. This is how people who used to eat 4 to 5 cookies at a time end up surprising themselves when they feel satisfied on just 1 to 2 later in their journey. Had Lucy done this instead of just jumping from calculator to calculator, going back to square one each time, she would have seen more sustainable progress. Now, it may take up to 4 weeks to figure out a target that works for you at both these levels, but once you figure it out, you should be able to stick to that for 3 to 4 months without major hitches. Wait, what do I mean by major hitches? Your TDE can change over time, and that's normal. It could be due to life stresses, hormonal imbalance, or even too much weight loss and metabolic adaptation, which is when your body tries to conserve energy by holding onto fat, even and especially when you've been eating too low calories for an extended time period. This adaptation is our body's way of protecting us. Instead of decreasing calories even more, you may need a diet break, where you eat at your maintenance for a week or 2 if you have been losing weight consistently for 3 or more months. If you get to that point or are already at that point, working with your body instead of pushing it harder can help you lose weight faster. Had Lucy done this instead of slashing calories and adding more exercise, she would have broken her plateau sooner. It can be hard to figure out what's the best thing to do when you reach this point, so if you want guidance from a coach, check out the free sneak peek into my Badass Body Loss program in the description and comments below. By doing this 4-step process, you can figure out the calories in part of the equation. But what about the calories out part? Is there anything to watch out for when it comes to exercise? Yes. In fact, to help one of our students make progress, we actually had to convince her to tone down her exercise intensity. It's more common than you think. So you don't want to ignore this video where I dive into the worst exercise mistakes everyone makes when trying to lose weight, which will explain what you need to avoid in order to make exercise work for you and not against you. So check it out here, and always remember, you can do it.